Blog Talk Radio.
This is NBA Unplugged, brought to you by theprobasketballtalk.com. It's time to talk hoops with Jacob Noble and James Buckland.
Well, welcome everyone to another edition of NBA Unplugged, brought to you by theprobasketballtalk.com. Our On the Road series seems to be continuing tonight. We're at a different locale once again. And tonight we'll be talking about actual NBA basketball action because it's finally underway here. Exciting. I, of course, am James Buckland, and with me, as always, is my co-host and partner in crime, Jacob Noble.
Yeah, we're here. We're having a few beers at my place and on some stools. And
it's pretty romantic.
It is pretty romantic, actually. But we're going to be talking a lot about some NBA action. We've waited a long time for this, since June. It's been a few months. And then, you kept saying season's close to you think.
Right, ever since the first preview, I was letting everyone know it's closer than you thought, and before you know it, it's already there.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We got rookies.
2 nights of games have already taken place.
2 nights. Third night tonight, and luckily for us, there's a game canceled, so people won't be watching basketball. They'll be listening to basketball. People talk about basketball.
Not lucky for the folks in New Jersey and New York. They won't have NBA action tonight. I believe it got postponed to tomorrow. And
November 26th.
Are you sure? I thought they said they were going to play that game tomorrow.
No, November 26th is the Monday on TNT at 7 o'clock. So they pushed it back, and I think it's a back-to-back where both teams are in town.
Okay, well, we do wish the folks in those areas the best.
Brian, our good friend Brian was supposed to join us, but obviously due to the circumstances, and if you don't know what goes on in current events, there was a big tropical storm, hurricane-turned-tropical storm that kind of murdered the East Coast, and I probably shouldn't have used that word.
Yeah, I was going to say,
some people have passed away. Yeah. So it's tough in New York, no power, but, they're getting by. Which I thought they should have played the game, and I know we're not even discussing our list of things to talk about right now, but I feel like they should have played the game because you want good things to happen when you're in times of trouble. Like, remember with Katrina and the Saints ended up playing the game, even though they didn't play it at home, but they were still able to play a football game.
Right.
And for that, 3-4 hours that you have, you forget about all that stuff. Yeah,
it's funny how sports can impact things like that and really lift a community up like that, like it does have the potential of doing. And it's one of those situations where once they do come back and play, it'll be a good feeling all around for everyone in the area.
I mean, they've been anticipating.
Obviously, it's not going to fix anything that's happening, but at least for those few hours, they'll have something to take their minds off of what's going on there.
No, yeah, and I think the whole subway not being up and running has something to do with it. I know that's, a shortened subway due to the damage, but we digress. But let's talk about the beard.
Yeah, there were some games last night. There was a full slate of games rather than the opening night where there were only a few. There were 3 games that night. Last night, we saw a lot from the newest Houston Rocket, who hadn't even practiced with the team yet, comes out and absolutely explodes. James Harden, following that big trade for Kevin Martin in pieces, going over to the Thunder, they get to bring in someone who's, looking like he might just be a bona fide superstar. James Harden comes out and explodes.
Wow, yeah, and, he faced a lot of criticism during the playoffs this past year. And rightfully so. But everyone always said, he's the third fiddle. He's the third wheel. And this kind of brings us back to how good was Ray Allen when he went to the Celtics, and how good is Chris Bosh now, because they're hidden behind 2 guys who are, and I don't think many people are going to disagree, but are better than James Harden. You would take Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant over him.
I would, yeah.
He plays third fiddle. So
at least I would have before.
I know, right?
After, maybe when we're 25 games into the season, Harden's averaging 30 points, I might be changing my mind.
I joke that, the Thunder has 3 people who can compete for the scoring title. Last year, I think Westbrook finished 4th. Durant finished, obviously, 1st. So, Harden, if he gets the opportunities, which he's got in Houston now. But let's talk about that trade, because I know a lot of Thunder fans take it emotionally, and you got to look at what they got. They got a lot for James Harden.
They did,
and he wasn't going to sign him.
And it gives them financial flexibility more so than they had. They weren't going to be able to sign Harden for the amount of money he got with Houston those 5 years, $80 million.
They could have, but it would have been so far over the cap that they would have been paying outrageous luxury tax money.
I don't say couldn't have in the sense of they...
Financially, they couldn't have.
Right.
The owners said, we're not going to pay the NBA, $30, $40, $50 million a year just to have this payroll, which is in the 90 to 100,000. But going back to it, they got Kevin Martin, who I believe his contract's up after this year. So he's has something to play for, something to prove. He's finally out of a losing situation, and he's back in a winning team.
Yeah.
And he's a very efficient player. You and I know Kevin Martin very well throughout the years of playing fantasy basketball together. He gets a lot of points. He scores efficiently, and he is what he is.
Yeah, despite his unorthodox shooting release, he's able to put it through the basket from pretty much anywhere on the floor. He's a slasher. He can get to the basket with good efficiency, and not a terrible defender. No. I wouldn't put him on any all-defensive teams, but he's certainly not going to hurt you from the shooting guard position.
No, I mean, he's an athlete. He can get up and down, and he has a really good feel-good story about how he got into the NBA. He came from a small school. He went and worked out with a couple of well-known NBA, councils, and they really bulked his body up, and he turned into, they said if you don't get your body in shape, you're not going to play in the NBA, and he took that advice very strongly in his college days, and it turned out to be very good. But they also got Jeremy Lamb, a very, highly talented rookie that...
And now they have two of those.
They have two of them now. We know Perry Jones, the third. But they also got 2 first-round draft picks. One of them is the Toronto Raptors unprotected.
Right.
So
it wasn't like they got nothing in return. If you're a Thunder fan, I think you have to be pretty happy with the deal. And obviously, if you're a Houston Rockets fan, you're ecstatic with it, because now you do have a guy who's potentially a bona fide superstar. But what you got in Oklahoma City is depth and a couple pieces for your future as well. I don't think you can be upset with that at all if you're okay.
No, and it keeps their small payroll, but still going to keep them competitive. So they're going to have 3 first-round draft picks, including their own, which won't be a good draft pick. But when you got 3 first-round picks, you can do things for teams who need to build. Like, I hate to use Bobcats example every single time, but we'll not do that. If you're the Orlando Magic and you have, the 8th pick in the draft, you probably trade that for the 12th and the 30th, for Thunder to be able to move up and pick somebody who they might feel is that caliber. But, they did a really good job. But let's talk about Harden's aspect of this trade, because he finally gets the money he wants, 5 years, $80 million. He's finally a star of a team.
And a starter.
A starter, so not even a start. Yeah, he's starting. He's going to take the most shots on the team, and I don't think anyone's going to complain. But the thing that I love about this financially for him is not obviously the $80 million contract. It's beautiful. We all wish we can get that. But when you're the star of a team, you get all the endorsements. You're featured on everything. You're at the events. You're wanted. And Houston's not a small city.
Right, you know all about that.
I know all about that. And I love how
I bring it up every time that you reference Houston. You know all about it. You live there.
It's a massive city.
Yeah. And yes, his face will be everywhere. That beard will be everywhere.
I'm trying to grow.
He has a very not really. He has a very marketable face despite the monstrous patch of hair growing on it. He's sort of going for the Baron Davis and Golden State look.
He's actually less recognizable without the beard. If you see that photo, I believe in his college days.
Yeah, he looks like a little tiny baby.
Yeah, who are you?
Now he kind of looks like a bit of a badass.
I mean, I'm
bulky shooting guard.
Yeah, with a beard.
He can penetrate. He's quick and he's strong.
I wonder if the beard holds the sweat. But anyways, we're digressing.
Well, maybe it works. I don't know. If the sweat's coming, say, from the top of your head, you don't want it to get to the point where it's, going in your beard. That means it went past your eyes, it went past your mouth. At that point, the sweat has already become a problem if it gets to the point where it's in your beard. You want to nip it before it gets there.
My next question to him is, who's going to be the first charity that tries getting him to shave the beard for charity?
One of the Norelco or Gillette will try to get in there.
That better be a $10 million purse.
Oh, he would get paid enough to, feed 1,000 beards with razors.
Well, I guess the question would be, how quickly can he grow a beard? Is it like in the commercial when he rips it off after getting mustard on it?
I don't think so. Judging by his look without it, he looks like a guy who maybe doesn't grow facial hair that quickly. I wonder how long it did take him. Right, if he shaved it to get it back, that might be a whole thing. So probably that wouldn't be worth him in the long run. I think he might end up losing endorsements if he gets rid of the beard, because then his face isn't recognizable and he doesn't have that novelty to him.
Yeah. Do you think Nike would drop him if he lost the beard? No.
I did not.
But anyways, he had a fantastic first game.
Yeah, why don't you read off his stat line there?
37 points debuting for the Houston Rockets on a team, as James pointed out a second ago, he didn't practice with yet. He met him, got a little shoot around, said hi to some cameras. didn't really play with him. And this is a new team, and they got Omer Asik, they got Jeremy Lin,
and Delfino, who had a great game as a new addition to that team as well. And Royce White is another guy who'll be playing a big role in that team.
Yeah, when he gets there. Depends on how long it takes his bus to get around.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of new pieces in that organization. You bring out a guy right off the bat, but you know what? A guy who's great in the open floor like James Harden is, you don't really need to run many sets for him to get. He's creating his own looks.
Yep.
He's getting points off of offensive rebounds and loose balls and steals. Yeah.
Let's finish the line. He had 6 rebounds, 12 assists, and 4 steals. So he did basically everything, and I don't know.
And a big block shot, too.
Yeah, and a lot of, and I don't think, and I mean, this is tough. Is this him every night, or is this one of those, I'm kind of pissed off, happy, I want to show the world something, because it was his moment to shine?
Sure, there's got to be some emotions there. It also probably has to do with not playing the best team in America.
Don't talk about the Detroit Pistons like that.
Well, I do sort of my
because on day is not good. That ruins everything we know.
Yeah, if you listen to our Pistons preseason podcast, you know that they don't like Austin Day, apparently.
No, they don't.
Much to my obliviousness, if that's a word. But you look at that stat line. Obviously, he's not going to do that every night. There's no way anyone could do that, unless you're Oscar Robertson or something like that.
Yeah.
But you're going to get things similar to that. Probably you're going to have a game or two like that one, but obviously you can't do it on a nightly basis.
No, but I want to hop over to Jeremy Lin real quick because he had a good game.
He wasn't so bad himself. He was very efficient. Running the offense.
I believe he had 7 assists off the top of my head. Yeah. And in a night where Jeremy's a good point guard because he doesn't want the fame, he doesn't want the lights in his face.
Whether he does get it or
yeah, he just wants to. I mean, he has no problem giving it to James Harden. And they were so fast last night. They ran a fast-paced tempo. They got a lot of young guys who are athletic, and Omer Asik is a fantastic.
Did you see that layup he had when the announcer, I believe the Houston Rockets announcer, said he created his own shot on that one? It was like a reverse right-handed scoop on the opposite side of the hoop.
He's got skills.
I'd never seen anything like that before. Asik has that capability to do that. Very creative in the low post, as you'll see from him in the future. I like the team they've got there. They're running and gunning, and I'm sure that Kevin McHale is thrilled about the team he's got there.
Yeah, but they're building something, and I wrote an article, and I feel foolish kind of writing it, but maybe I shouldn't really jump the gun because they beat the Detroit Pistons, but we'll analyze it throughout the year. But I wrote an article when they did the whole point guard shuffle. Trade Kyle Lowry, let Goran Dragic walk, and overpaid for Jeremy Lin. I said, what's the philosophy here?
Yeah.
And then they go out and give Omer Asik a lot, and they basically...
Well, in retrospect, because you're able to bring in... It seemed at the time like they had a lot. You could be dynamic.
Yeah.
Create him at the same time. Now you have Harden that can do that. Lin type of person can just sit back and comment him. He knows his role. He's not the star. Whether people around America might think he's the star, he's not, and he knows that, and he knows how to play in comment like James Harden. I think they play together.
Oh yeah, they absolutely did. He got $80 million, and was James Harden did a lot. He got his, top 20 paid player in the league. If he's like he didn't justify it.
Right.
Yeah. But also, I have other things that happened last year.
Yeah.
Some opinions, but just battle them all so we're on the same page.
Please do.
DeMar Rose about $1 million. Toronto Raptors. We got Drew Holiday, 96 4 years, $1 million. Times on Twitter yesterday about the $38 million.
I think
there because that makes sense. Ty got 4 years, $48 million, and Stephen Curry and his ankle got 4 years, $44 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now and we talked about this a little before we hopped on here, but there's one contract out there that I love comparing because it's the best bargain in the NBA. And Rajon Rondo got 5 years, $55, so he's at 11 per year. He makes less than everybody on the list besides Taj Gibson,
which is pretty remarkable. You're talking. He signed that in 2009.
Yep.
He already had a ring at this point.
Yep.
He was already established as one of the top 10 point guards. He had been an all-star. This is an established guy. You look at this list of players, not one of these guys, I would say, has been established.
There are helicopters flying over us.
Ty Lawson's been good in spurts. Stephen Curry's been good in spurts. Can't stay healthy. Taj Gibson's a bench player.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, we're going to see what he can do now that they've pushed Lou Williams out of there and they're committing to him. That'll be good for him. And DeMar DeRozan, another guy who's not really proven. Does he have a jump shot? Can he lead
his career average is 14 points per game.
Right.
So 14 points per game guy gets.
These are all every single one of these not proven guys. Whereas Rajon Rondo that was just an absolute steal for the Boston Celtics.
So we'll go one by one. We'll start with DeMar DeRozan because I like his talent. I like his ability. I think he just doesn't get it. I mean, he has all the tools in the world, and you sit there and say, why doesn't he get it? Some nights he'll blow up for 30 points, but he hasn't shown enough progress over time. And I don't know if this relates to the Toronto Raptors coaching staff or if it relates to his off-season workouts. Is he going to get additional help outside of the organization? A lot of players go to, councils, as we talked about a while ago. They go to
usually ends up being a good
stuff
move, too.
And, some specialists. And is he doing that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is probably a question of commitment there. Not that I know DeMar DeRozan personally, but it does seem like some nights he's got that attack mentality and some nights he doesn't.
You have to want it.
Yeah, exactly. As the great Eddie Curry once said, effort's a funny thing. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it isn't. It seems like that may be a similar situation for DeMar DeRozan.
I wish there was a way to get that slogan on the jersey you'll be buying because he did score 7 more points.
Yeah, if he goes on that pace, he's going to
18
score
the first night,
well.
No, 7.
7 points.
But he scored some last night too, I think.
I didn't check his scores from last night. You'll have to pull that one up so we can keep ourselves on an Eddie Curry.
I might put a tracker on the website. This is going down.
An Eddie Curry tracker to see if I have to purchase an Eddie Curry Dallas Mavericks jersey. Now, when we initially made this bet, and I'm going to go along with it, he was a member of the San Antonio Spurs, so things have changed a bit since I agreed to it.
Yeah.
But I'll stick with it. I'll buy the Mavericks Eddie Curry jersey.
So he's up to 9 total points. So he needs 291 more points.
Mm-hmm.
He can do it. All right, we're moving
through 80 games.
I might just pay Mark Cuban and make him a starter just to get this done. Think about the publicity, right?
But we've gone well off.
This is what we do we do this every podcast. So the next guy,
Eddie Curry does that.
Yeah, I think the next guy is probably I take that back. Second guy on this list who's bound to become a star, and that's Drew Holiday. Now it's a tough position to say that because we have Kyrie Irving, who we talked about last week, I believe, about how good he's going to be, and showed it. Mm-hmm. Then you got all the All-Star point guards already: Tony Parker, Rajon Rondo, Duran. You got Chris Paul. And then you got the guys like John Wall that are out there that still can be something. Yeah. Derrick Rose when he comes back from injury. So to say that another point guard could be a star is kind of fun. And we didn't even talk about Russell Westbrook. Sorry, Russ. Didn't mean to dish like that. But Drew Holiday got 4 years, 41, which I think he's a very good point guard. He doesn't do many things wrong. He controls the pace of the game. He's, the pass-first mentality, and they're buying into him in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he is a prolific speed guy, which you always like to have at your point guard. And he can be creative with the ball, which I do like. I think when he gets out there with both Spencer Hawes and Andrew Bynum on the court at the same time, which I believe they had planned to do before Bynum decided he didn't want to play, and now they're going with the
I like how his hair looks old, and so his body's old.
Right, but yeah, when he gets out there with those two behemoths, I think it'll be very, very interesting to see how well he can create off the ball. Or with the ball, rather, I should say.
Yeah, so I like the contract a lot. I think the 76ers are building something. They moved Andre Iguodala to get a young center who they will be planning on locking down. You can look at it. We're drinking beers again, guys. That trend hasn't stopped. So a wise blogger once said, do the podcast drunk one time. It'll be fun. Then, not paraphrase, but that was the Basketball Jones. They gave about 10 examples of, tips of how to be a blogger. But anyway, so I like what the 76ers are doing. They got a young core. They're getting rid of the old. They're buying into Drew Holiday, Evan Turner, and we'll see what they do. Now, the next guy out there, as we talked about, was the most, you got to punch that hole in that middle leg. The next guy on this list, Twitter blew up about, and that's Taj Gibson. And Zach Harper, follow him on Twitter, Talk Hoops, had the best lines, and I was in tears laughing at the illogic people had of Taj Gibson. Like, he could score this a night or that a night, and it was just hysterical because he's basically a defensive specialist, and he ended up getting 4 years, $38 million.
Yeah, when you talk about defensive specialists that are at his position, at his size, the kind of guy that comes to mind is like a Carl Landry or a Reggie Evans, someone of that nature. Yep. Those guys aren't making that type of money. Now Taj Gibson is. And I had a tweet earlier today that I believe you retweeted. He got paid 4 years, $38 million in the same day that he comes out and plays less minutes than Nate Robinson did in that game for the Bulls.
Nate Robinson's a murderer. What can we say? But we got a call here. We'll see who this is. It's 978. How we doing?
Namaste, girls.
Just who I think it is.
This is the Terror from the public school era calling live. Wanted to talk some Nuggets.
You want to talk some Nuggets? So
we were just about to get to Ty Lawson's contract, and I believe this is the Terror of the public school era. Ben Kinney, who you can listen to the Bozos of Basketball each Wednesday.
Woo! So what do you want to say about these Denver Nuggets? Are you buying in? Are you finally leaving the Warriors to become a Nug?
Well, I want to get the Boseberry Jam and send them a crate because they went out and put up 75 on Philly. I mean, come on. This is a team that should be scoring 110 a night, led by Ty Lawson. And they went out and put up a stinker, and that upset me because I have them in the NBA Finals.
Yeah, well, Ty Lawson just got paid, and then he goes out and doesn't really – I mean, he had an okay game, but – so what do you think of it? Do you think it was Andre Iguodala just ball hogging it and you know, with his 4 turnovers and his minus 19?
You know, what really disappoints me, and I'm sure Ben would agree with this, is that you see JaVale McGee coming off the bench only playing 18 minutes while Mr. Costa Kufo starts at center and gets 30.
Yeah, and I think what the Nuggets are, and this is what the problem with our Kings is too, is they've got a ton of guys. They didn't even have Gallinari, and that bugs me because he didn't give me any fucking fantasy points. Sorry for the F-bomb, guys. But, I mean, they got Wilson Chandler and Andre Miller, and good, solid guys coming off the bench. I hope there's enough shots to go around. Plus, Gallinari's a 20-point guy, and they only scored 75. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but Iguodala was pumped up, but hopefully they could turn around the ship. I don't know too much about Taj Gibson, but they did knock off our Kings, and I don't know. I'm just mad about the Nuggets, and they're going to get some Boseberry Jam.
Yeah, you know, the Nuggets are one of those teams where they have all this talent, and it's going to take them to turn around. They don't have a superstar. I mean, I will keep fighting to the death that Andre Iguodala is not a superstar. There's some stories, Ben, and I don't know if you saw them, but coming out of the Sixer locker room that they were relieved that he was his ego. I mean, he's got a nice resume and everything. Played for USA, and you know he's made All-Star teams. He's a great defender. He's an okay scorer. So I mean, he's a good basketball player. I'm not saying he's not good, but if he's your best player, then you're probably not going too far.
Interesting. Just one last thing, guys. I know it's your show. Great job, by the way. Love it. JJ, you don't want to do Austin Rivers for Mike Conley?
No, as much as I hate Mike Conley, and he was absolutely abysmal last night, Austin Rivers, I believe, was worse. We're going to get to that later when we review the debut of a few of the rookies. We saw Austin Rivers go 1 for 9 last night. I'm not exactly itching to get aboard that train.
Conley went 2 for 10. Jacob, Austin Rivers for Jeff Green?
No, but you did offer me a decent trade for Jeff Green, and I was going to take it, but you never offered it.
Oh, O.J. Mayo?
I would probably do O.J. Mayo for Jeff Green.
Well, have you talked to Jeff Green? Because he did not look good either. I know it's the first game, and not too many guys. Tell you guys that did look good, and I'll hang up, is that rookie on Portland, Lillard. Now, they're not very deep, but their starting five's good, and Lillard had a huge game against those winless Lakers.
Well, you just keep segueing us because we're going to be talking about the duds and studs of the rookies.
Hey,
all right. Well, guys, I just wanted to say that I'm going to keep my nuggets fresh and keep dipping them in sauces. But offer me some trades, and JJ, I shall beat you this week in fantasy.
Yeah, you're going to absolutely destroy me. My entire team's hurt. How am I supposed to win the game?
All right, man. I'll talk to you farts later.
Everybody, that was Ben Kinney from the Bozos of Basketball.
Wednesdays on Blog Talk Radio from the ProBasketballTalk.com. I'm his co-host on that show, by the way. If you're a big fan of me on that show, you're going to love me on the other one. On this show, I'm sorry. I meant to say if you're a fan on this show, you'll love me on that one.
Yeah, because he's more of a bozo on that one. Here, he tries to wear his thinking cap.
I try to, but I don't do a very good job.
Earlier. But let's keep going. So Ty Lawson got 48, and I love Ty Lawson's game. I really do. I think he's quietly, improved year after year. He's kind of one of those sleeper guys. He's not really gotten not really in a big market. Hasn't made an all-star. Hasn't really played in many meaningful games. So people really don't know much about him.
Well, you talk about not thinking that Andre Iguodala should ever be the best player on a team. Well, with the Nuggets, you might just have a team with a different best player I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who... No, I'm saying Ty Lawson.
Oh.
I think a lot of people would say that Ty Lawson's actually the best player on this team. He's certainly going to command the ball a lot. He's really got everything you want in a point guard. Besides, he's a little undersized. I believe he might not even reach 6 feet tall, but he's got a great shot. He's quick, and he can create. There's not many things he can't do. He could probably be better at defending, but you can probably say that about a lot of Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, he's just basically improved every single year. His first year was 8 points and 3 assists in 20 minutes, and he got his 26 minutes and 12 points. And last year he had 16.4 and 6.6 on a team that kind of...
Yeah, and it always has to do with your minutes.
Yeah.
And he was unleashed last season, although he didn't... he didn't make the All-Star team or anything like that. You're looking at some pretty damn good numbers for a guy, and he played about 35 a game.
He's not even his prime. He's 24 years old. He's going to be turning 25 on November 3rd. Happy early birthday, Ty Lawson.
No, I think there's a more than fair deal, I think, for the Nuggets, and definitely you have to be ecstatic if you're Ty Lawson.
Yeah, I mean, you got paid. You don't have to worry about the free agency, and I kind of like what's going on right now, and that's another topic.
Young guys signing extensions with their current teams rather than testing the market.
Instead of going right away, which, I mean, it kind of always done that because the way that the salaries are structured.
And then the next one, when this one expires, then they hit the market and go all LeBron and Chris Paul and everybody.
Well, the key to all that, and I don't know if people remember this, but LeBron started that trend. He didn't max out in Cleveland a second contract. Mm-hmm. He did like a full year max out. So when he got out, he can get that extra year of money. So actually, financially, if you're planning on being in the league for 10, 12 years, which LeBron can, Ty Lawson can, some people can't, but you sit there and you go, well, why would I sign 5 years to be here for this when if I got that new contract in year 5 instead, it'd be this.
And let's face it, these guys, these young players, even though they're playing against this guy, and I'm sure they wouldn't admit this, they sort of look up to LeBron James. Yeah. And they're definitely pegging him, looking at what he's doing, and probably are being advised also by their advisors to do what he's doing. Because LeBron's made a lot of smart decisions in his career.
Financially.
Exactly, a business sense.
I mean, I wish I was in the LMRM or whatever.
I think you're going to see a lot of people follow the same trends that LeBron James did.
Yeah. So Ty Lawson's signing was a good signing, I think. So I don't think we grade the other ones. DeRozan?
I think that still definitely remains to be seen. There is, another one that we need to talk about.
Yeah, we'll do one more talk, and then we'll grade
Curry with your Golden State Warriors. You got your 4 years for $44 million. That's Rajon Rondo money. Only he gets one less year. Curry's another guy who's pretty much unproven. He's never been in a winning atmosphere.
No,
we've never seen it. Yeah, we've never seen if he can play really on that level in the playoffs. And very injury prone. Those ankles very concerning if you're a Golden State Warriors fan. He was very durable, I think, when he first came out, if I'm not mistaken. But once those ankles started, he's never really recovered.
The beauty of him though is his career: 17, 5.8 assists. 4 rebounds.
Oh, sure. If he can stay on the court, he's tremendous. But that's the risk the Warriors are taking.
Yeah, and they picked up Andrew Bogut, so they're taking those.
They traded Monte Ellis out of town so that he could sort of develop his own identity in the Golden State franchise, and they're really committing to him. And this is showing more commitment to that. We'll see how it works out for him. It's a big risk, Cotton.
Do we have another 978?
I believe we have another call on the line.
We have a 978. Who is this?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Mitch in Detroit. Can I give a nomination for Bozo of the Week?
Wrong show. I'm sorry.
Sorry about it.
Wrong show there.
Yeah, whoever Mitch was. Sorry, Bozo. I had to use that line. But so the Curry deal, and we'll grade him going backwards. It is interesting that there's a great reward, but there's also a greater risk. And I guess, whatever that old saying is, the reward isn't worth the risk, whatever, your cliche sayings about risk and rewards. That's what you
who are you going to get here? You're going to get a guy who you got for a pretty good value who's going to overproduce for his contract like Boston has with Rajon Rondo, or you're going to have a Grant Hill situation where once he gets hurt, he never really comes back and is able to live up to the potential that he should have had.
And you're always looking at the long-term situation. Well, the Grant Hill thing is different. I think it's related to shoes, but we'll get to that another podcast. We'll talk about shoes and everything, and we'll wear some new kits. But I mean, Stephen Curry injury is, and teams always do this when if they have a player locked down, is they take their time because it's always about the long term, not the short term.
Right.
You don't think short sighted, you think long sighted in building a team. So if he's healthy, I mean, I think it's a win. So this one's tough for me to grade. I give it a win if he's healthy, obviously, and if he's not, I guess you don't give it away.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable money for the Warriors. They get a pretty good deal on someone who could be a very prolific point guard in the league. Obviously hasn't hit his prime just yet. We'll see. That's one of those that remains to be seen.
24 years old again.
If he can stay healthy, I think it's a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, he plays a lot of minutes. They tried cutting his minutes down the past couple of years, but it is what it is. So you think the contract's okay?
Yeah, I'm okay with that one.
All right, so the Ty Lawson contract. I
think it's great, yeah.
We'll do yay. Taj Gibson's tough because
I'm going to say it's bad. I'm going to say it's bad right now.
It's a lot of money, but it's what the market is.
Well, if you're not going to commit to it, I think if you can make a Carlos Boozer trade in the coming months and let Taj Gibson come in and get some minutes and get acclimated to being a starter and playing,
I think the problem,
playing up to what his contract dictates he should be playing.
I think the problem is with that is you won't have enough offense down low. I know. JJ just showed me a text. Sorry, JJ's an in-house name. James is showing me a text.
Yeah.
I got to get on the house saying James. So you got Joakim Noah in town. So if you have Noah and Taj, I think that's not enough offense. It's good defense.
Well, the Bulls haven't necessarily been known to be an offense.
Well,
if you
Rose,
can stop people enough, and if you're a Todd Thibodeau coach team, you're probably a very defensive-minded team, and you've got Derrick Rose being able to shoulder the offense, you're probably going to win a lot of games with that
hope
team.
so. I mean, I hope they win a lot of games.
If Taj Gibson could develop the type of mid-range jump shot that Carlos Boozer has, I think he comes in seamlessly and maybe is even better for this team than Boozer was. But while Boozer's there and you're paying Taj that amount of money, I think it's bad for them. But they're probably going to see Carlos Boozer out of that mix pretty soon. I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, they hope so. Next time he paints his hair again, that's when he's gone. That'll be the final line right there.
Right.
You
they take that seriously in Chicago.
They do take that seriously. Just shave it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, you get to that point one day in your life.
And I wouldn't wear a toupee if I were him either.
No.
Not in the windy city. That thing might come off.
Actually, you know it's a myth that they're the windiest city in America?
Yeah, I actually did read that.
Boston.
Was it Boston? I thought it was somewhere in Maine.
No, Kansas City has the windiest spot in America, but the windiest city is Boston.
Overall is Boston. Okay.
Yeah, we got the highest wind speeds recorded at Blue Hills, which is actually at the foot of my place, right there.
Yeah, I was actually there earlier today.
Oh, you hiking?
Believe it or not, yeah.
Enjoying your time off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hiking mountains and stuff?
What else are you going to do if we got all day? Vlog for you?
Nah,
come on.
Who would do that? So the next guy on our list, going back up, is Drew Holiday. Do you like the contract of the 4 years, 41?
I do. I think it's fair. I'm going to go with the okay on that one.
Oh, he's going with okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not thrilled about that one. I think it's okay. I think he's still got a lot to prove to earn that type of money.
He does. I'm going to go yay because I believe
I think they're paying for potential right there rather than something they know is for sure.
You can see that. Now, DeMar DeRozan.
That's definitely paying for...
You want terrible or bad? Is it worse than Taj Gibson?
No, I think this one's slightly better than Taj. I think DeRozan shows more upside, and it's another paying for potential thing. I still don't love this deal. I think they paid him
bad
too
or
much.
Okay?
I would have waited for that.
Bad, right?
DeRozan is bad, yeah.
So do you want Taj as terrible?
Well, whatever the worst pick of these five that I can do, I'll pick for that one.
Bad. Well, terrible's the worst, then bad, then okay, then yeah.
Well, we can double up on terribles and bads, though, right? Are you going to post these later in the site?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll stick with terrible. That's fine. I really hate the deal. So,
terrible.
Yeah,
so we are actually a little early on our timing here. I figured we'd jump into a quick topic that we were kind of griping about. You kind of pointed out earlier when our good friend Ben called in talking about fantasy and all these injuries is when the hell did this out indefinitely start coming into our vocabulary in the NBA? When did this happen?
It seems to be a big trend now all of a sudden.
Like, that's a football thing. That's a baseball thing. That's all players. You're out indefinitely. What do you mean you don't know what's wrong with you?
Yeah, it used to be day to day, and you could say, oh, well, this guy's going to be back one of these days. You know? But to be out indefinitely, you're thinking, well, okay, he could be out a game or a season. We don't know.
What is this? I need to make financial decisions on my fantasy basketball team. You can't be going out indefinitely and walking around without any medical attention.
Listen, I mean, I'm feeling this just about as badly as anyone could in fantasy basketball. I've got Eric Gordon, who's obviously one of these out indefinitely guys. He missed a lot of time last season. We don't know if he's happy or not being on this team.
He's not happy. You seen the photos?
Well, yeah, that's another thing. And I've also got Nene, who's out indefinitely. We don't know when he'll be back for the Washington Wizards. And then Chris Kaman, who I had to drop because he's out indefinitely with a calf injury that could be bad or could not be bad with Dallas Mavericks. So who freaking knows? But you know what? The Mavs were able to beat the Lakers, so maybe they don't need them.
It's almost like everybody just got a case of the Portland Trailblazers medical staff. Well, we don't really know what's going on. We'll just say you're out indefinitely. Like, Bill Walton might play a basketball game again. Greg Otis might play basketball again. We don't know. hey, we're not scientists, we're not doctors. What do we know? But it just aggravates me. So the two guys, you mentioned one second ago, Eric Gordon, who, as you pointed out, he signed that contract, and he sounds like he's going to be a PR nightmare until they get rid of him. Whether they trade him to somebody.
Not.
Just trade him to Phoenix. Get something out of it. Bring back a Michael Beasley, even though he had a terrible first game. But, you can bring something back, make a three-way. I think they should definitely make him available and tell everybody. But then the other guy who's hurt, which is going to screw up the Eastern Conference playoffs a lot, is Danny Granger. Without him, that's one All-Star. He made the All-Star team a few times. That's one All-Star who's not going to be on the Pacers team, who has a lot of promise.
Yeah, the Pacers are deep enough that they can survive without him for a little while. I think that there's a couple games they might lose rather than win because of that. Wow, Seal looks a lot like Kevin Garnett right there.
Off topic.
Sorry, Jacob's going through a blog, and never mind. Come on, man, you're killing me with this stuff. I'm trying to concentrate on doing a podcast. This guy's you got Seal as Kevin Garnett for Halloween up in front of me. Now I'm looking at Kevin Love doing whatever. But yeah, the whole injury deal with Dowden definitely is really pissing me off.
Just tell me what it is. Like, yeah, we're looking at 2 months.
But yeah, with the Pacers though, you've got Paul George who can he can play the Danny Granger role for a while. But you're going to need both of them if you're going to really make noise in the Eastern Conference. They're definitely going to need both those guys.
Yeah, it's just tough to see two guys who are young, potential All-Stars. They've had some success in the past, and they have a bright future ahead of them to go out with knee injuries out indefinitely. Yeah. I mean, we've seen this road where knees just end careers, so it's tough that would happen. Mm-hmm. So should we jump into the rookies?
Yeah, there's been a lot of rookie performances over the past couple of days that have been notable, ones that have been forgettable. Right. So why don't we go down the list of some of the notable guys, whether bad or good, and we'll talk a little bit about their first game with their team.
We wrote down 5 names. 5 rookies who played last night who caught our attention, good or bad. We're not mentioning Harrison Barnes. He had an average game. He didn't play many minutes, did what he could. Right. Mark Jackson's going to ease him in.
If he lost out there, you can bring in Brandon Rush. You can Richard Jefferson when he's healthy, and you'll be
exactly. But talk about players who are on the same team, and it's kind of simple. With that, and we'll talk the number pick overall because everybody wants to talk about this. Anthony Davis, very good first. He was third. He was athletic. He was up and down the court, and he finished off with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. Not bad against the San Antonio Spurs. So he went against Duncan.
Tough competition, winning up against Duncan, who a lot of people, before and after the draft were comparing to.
Yep.
And he proved his worth, and he proved that he should have been the number 1 overall pick. He can compete with Tim. Duncan also had a good game himself and won the game, but Anthony Davis did look very good.
I just want to make a side note. We talked about Eric Gordon happy. And there's a photo of him holding up his jersey after re-signing, and
not looking absolutely thrilled about it in New Orleans.
No, we might have to put this on the phone post as well, just because it's hysterical. And we love funny things. So yeah,
Anthony Davis did impress, but everybody knew he was going to do that. He was impressive in the postseason. He was impressive in college. He was the number 1 overall pick. You would expect this stuff from him.
Yeah, and he had some learning, curves out there. He made a couple bonehead plays, as most rookies do. Made some impressive plays where it showed where he's above the talent of his draft class, that he's up there a little bit better. So he had a good game. But let's turn the table for a second here and talk about Mr. Austin Rivers, a guy who I think a lot of people aren't high on. He slipped in the draft, fell down, and he didn't really have an impressive college first year. And a lot of people think he's just a raw talent that's just not honed yet. And I think we saw that last night.
Yeah, he's got the potential to be a big-time scorer. You saw it in college. He was able to make that game-winning shot where he was really on the map. And,
Doc went crazy on that, by the way.
He sure did. His father, Doc Rivers, he coaches the Celtics. I like Austin Rivers' game if he can learn to be an off-the-ball player. Or if he does get forced into being a point guard, which I don't think he will with the Hornets. I think for now he'll be a bench player. Grievous Vasquez seems to be the guy at point guard at this time. But I think he could, learn a couple lessons from his father's career and learn to be more of a defensive guy who can, play as a complementary player rather than trying to make it all himself. It looks he went 1 for 9 last night. His shot selection has never really been
his stronghold. Yeah.
Exactly. So we'll probably see a lot of that in his rookie season. Hopefully he can turn it around.
Yeah.
Not a typical coach's son.
No.
Usually the coach's son is like Mike Dunleavy, who's a smart, heady player who made it to the NBA, not with his athleticism, but more with his head.
And Doc has had a few kids now, all trying to become professional athletes. I don't think Jeremiah made it into the NBA.
No, he did not.
Yeah, he did not. So Austin was clearly got the athleticism there, but there's the talk about his ego. And, last night he had 1 for 9 shooting on 7 points. He can get to the line. He's an athlete. You saw that. He was making plays. I think the game's just a little bit too fast for him right now to be able to go out there and make a difference.
Right. Raw was the correct term, I think, that you used. And he's got a lot of work on his game to do before he. But, you draft for guys who have the potential to be great, and I think he does, just because he's got that potential to do some remarkable things on the basketball court.
I'm kind of bummed we can't be watching a basketball game right now. It's a little sad.
Yeah.
I wish we were watching a little Knicks and Nets while we were doing this pod.
But that's been a hyped up game, man, for a while. So I do wish that we were able to watch that, but obviously we understand why we're not.
Oh yeah, we completely understand.
So another good rookie debut is someone who we saw a documentary about, Lithuanian basketball. He was highly featured in that other Dream Team documentary when you talk about the history of Lithuanian basketball. Jonas Valanciunas, am I saying that correctly?
Jonas Valanciunas, I believe.
Valanciunas. He was pretty good last night in complimentary role to Andrea Bargnani. I think he's going to be good in that position this season. Yeah,
he actually started, but it's shocking for a rookie. I believe he spent a year overseas and didn't come over until this past year, which is a smart move. It was a lockout season. You don't want to rush him through all that stuff. But he only played 23 minutes, scored 12 points, 10 rebounds, had a block.
Yeah, you get a double-double in your first game playing 23 minutes and 6 of your rebounds are offensive. Yeah. That's a pretty nice game.
Well,
the thing is, when he came out, I don't think anybody thought he was a bruiser. I think they were comparing him to Andrea Bargnani. But,
the same thing. But
he's figured out a way to play in complement to Andrea Bargnani. If he's doing stuff like this, I think he's the perfect complement to him.
He has the inside game. He has a low post offensive presence where Bargnani does not like the low post. He's pretty effective.
Yeah, he can do it when he wants to.
Yeah, when he wants to. But, Bargnani would rather settle. He took 4 3-point attempts last night. And typically I don't want my 7-footer doing that unless his name's Dirk Nowitzki.
Sure.
But we talk about DeMar DeRozan, didn't really have a really good game, didn't really shoot that well. But they got something brewing up in Toronto. And I think last night when they almost knocked out a win against those Pacers, maybe Brian has a point that maybe they will make the playoffs.
And I think Valanciunas will be a big part of that if they do. They've been looking for that big guy to put next to Andrea Bargnani and been pretty unsuccessful. Yep. They tried it with Amir Johnson, overpaid for him. Yep. I think that was a terrible deal. Now we'll see what he can do as a bench player. They tried it with Ed Davis last season. He started a bunch of games. He was ineffective.
Yep.
I think Valanciunas is going to be the right way to go. I hope they continue to start him, and I hope he continues to be a good addition to the team.
Yeah, he's a big body, and he's kind of the same thing with Anthony Davis. Was a guard growing up, had that growth spurt where he wasn't expecting it. So when you grow up and you play most of your early life, all the way probably till junior, senior year of high school as a guard, and then you grow 6-7 inches, then you turn into a big guy, and you still have all those skills.
Yeah, it's an advantage. It is, because you have an array of talents that most big guys don't, and I think that will certainly help him in his career, and I'm glad to see that he was successful as he was in his first start in his NBA career.
Yeah,
first game, I should say.
And we got a little soft spot, obviously, because of the documentary that we witnessed. So
we witnessed it. We were witnesses of that film.
I have a shirt that says I'm a witness. So we're going to go to one more dud for the evening, and I'm kind of shocked by this dud. And I know he didn't really get the most opportunities in this game, but he did what he could. He got 22 minutes, he had 3 points, 3 rebounds, and that's T-Rob, Thomas Robinson out in Sacramento. They didn't start him, they pulled him off the bench, which I kind of thought was a mistake, but, you don't really just throw a rookie out there. But then again, it's not like Jason Thompson or James Johnson did anything important to stay on the court.
Yeah, if your competition is James Johnson, who went 1 for 8 in this game, playing 21 minutes of his own, I think that eventually Thomas Robinson will morph into their stuff. Yeah, they're probably not trying to shove this all in his face at one time. You've got a guy like Chuck Hayes on that team who if Thomas Robinson. Exactly. But you've got guys that you could potentially start from. I don't think James Johnson was a good decision. But I think eventually, once Thomas Robinson gets more comfortable with the NBA game, you'll see him in that starting job. He did look uncomfortable out there, though, that night with the 3 fouls, the 3 turnovers in only those 22 minutes, going 1 for 5. Not very good.
You look at this roster, and they're just, to me, it's poor coaching. It really is right now. You got 2 point guards in Isaiah Thomas, and they got Tyreek as a point guard, not really, but you got Aaron Brooks on the bench, who's a proven athlete, proven.
Well, I think you got to keep him there, but I think you find a way to get Marcus Thornton in the starting lineup. That's the problem. Tariq Evans, he's a big boy. They're going with a lot of small lineups in the NBA these days. Most teams are. Why not have Tariq Evans at the 3? And I'm sure they'll do that for many minutes in the game. You look at the minute distribution. I'm sure they did. I didn't see the game. But I think that if you can throw Tariq Evans at that 3 and stay comfortable, there's not too many small forwards that are going to really torch you. I mean, beyond Kevin Durant, who they'll probably see a decent amount of, and LeBron James, who they'll only see twice. Yeah. I don't think there's any reason you can't play Tariq Evans at the 3.
I mean, I think we tried guessing this roster, the starting 5, and we did not have this.
We had DeMarcus Cousins right.
Yeah, I think him and Tyreek were the only ones we had right. Yeah. But T-Rob, I don't know what it is. I mean, we're not in the practices. We don't really see what they're doing behind the scenes. So maybe there's something. But, I mean, I read all the reports this offseason, and they were saying that T-Rob was having a fantastic camp, and he's out there to annoy people. He's going to give it his all. He's going to hustle. He feels slighted for not being drafted in the top 2. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he's got something to prove. Let the kid loose.
Right. Well, they haven't done it just yet, but like I said, I think they eventually do that, but it is a little depressing to see he didn't have a very good game last night.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it happens.
And now we have another stud in their rookie debut. A lot of people talking about this kid as he outplayed Steve Nash and beat the Lakers with those Portland Trailblazers who nobody expected much from this season. They beat the Lakers last night, and Damian Lillard was immense in that game.
Immense. Plus 16. He had 23 points, 11 assists. 1 steal, 3 rebounds, and he shot 8
6 turnovers for a point guard. For a rookie point guard, that's expected.
Ratio 2-to-1.
Sure, yeah.
That's better than most.
And it's expected, sure.
But it's better than most. I believe the best is 3-to-1. It's typically what the all-star.
Yeah, if you're a really good point guard, you do have a lot of turnovers because you have the ball in your hands a lot, and if you take risks in your passing, which most good point guards do, try to make that spectacular pass.
35 minutes.
You're going to see some turnovers happen.
Yeah. So I mean, Damian Lillard was fantastic last night as the Portland Trailblazers ended up beating the Los Angeles Lakers, who we'll get to at the last part of this segment. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I wasn't very pumped on this kid, to be honest with you. I mean, I believe we talked about it. We're like,
no, I didn't know much about him, to be honest.
I believe he came from a small school that half of us have heard of, Weber State.
A couple people have come from Weber State, but you don't usually. Was Von Wafer a Weber State guy? I know there was another Weber State guy that emerged recently, but Lillard certainly impressed in this game. If you're able to put up 11 assists in your first NBA game and outplay Steve Nash, obviously you've done something special.
You're doing something right.
Yeah. The Portland Trailblazers got a stud here. It looks like we'll have to see some consistency before we fly off the handle. But I did like what I saw last night.
Oh, absolutely. And we're going to run through here and just see if there's any other NBA players who played. Mark Brewer is an old time.
Eddie Gill, I remember him.
Eddie Gill, not Kendall Gill, is it?
I don't think he's related to Kendall, no.
Yeah, no. It's a lot of old players and a lot of NFL players. Anyway, so, Weber State's not known for basketball, so it's kind of shocking for this kid to come out, but he came out in a fury, and he's 22 years old, so he's played his 4 years. He's a polished college player. He's learned the college game, so he can make that step. And, everyone kind of shook their heads when they picked him over all the other draft picks they could have had, and you know what? Maybe they were right.
Yeah, well, Nolan Smith didn't seem to be the answer. They've tried a couple other guys there, and they've got rid of a few players in that position as well. So they needed someone to come in and play point guard, and it looks like this kid's ready, and I'm proud of him for coming out and doing that.
And as our good friend Kev said a little while ago, that they have a really good starting 5. And they do. You got J.J. Hickson, LaMarcus, Batum.
Batum is apparently the greatest player in the NBA, according to some people.
Well, you didn't see. I mean, he had 26 points last night.
He did. You got to give it up. He looks good.
He gets after it, but they have no bench. I think you and I can go out and try out for that bench right now. and I say that not jokingly, but I mean, Luke Babbitt, come on. Luke Babbitt, you ain't got nothing on us.
Well, Luke, he didn't play, so I don't know if he can really be in the mix there.
Oh, no,
Myers Leonard is a big fella, but he's not anything that hasn't done much impressive as far as I'm concerned so far. And Jared Jeffries has been nothing but
Jared
terrible
Jeffries
for his
is
entire
on
career.
Jordan Brand?
Sure, I don't know.
I'm telling you, he is.
I know. I'm glad to hear it. I don't know much about. He got paid a lot of money though when he was in New York, and I wasn't really sure why.
I think Isaiah Thomas was also like a real estate agent. They get 3 to 5% on every contract that they sign.
Oh, is that it?
So I think that's why he just gave away all this money. But they beat the Lakers, who are now 0-2, and I know Laker fans aren't panicking because they're still looking at their paper team, and their paper team right now is the best team in the league. However, something's not gelling there, and I don't know if it's overcomplications of the plays they're trying to run. They're just saying, well, we got this great team, we have to do this or that, or make it so complicated. Keep it simple, stupid. Run some high pick and rolls with Nash and Dwight. Let Kobe stand aside and Powell on the weak side.
Yeah.
You got yourself a basic offense that's not going to be
It seemed like they were starting to get there against the Blazers there, but in that first game it was just disgusting. And the TNT guys said it. They were talking about how Paul Gasol looked like the only one who was comfortable in that offense. Because he's still got the same role he's always had.
Yeah.
Get in the high post, you can either shoot the jump shot, he's a great passer,
Yep.
He's a post player. He can still do the same things he's always done and fit in perfectly to that offense. These other guys have got some learning to do. Dwight Howard has never played with guys the caliber as he is right now. Obviously, he was huge last night. He put up big numbers. But he's still got a lot to learn about playing with a guy like Kobe Bryant full-time. And Steve Nash seems like he just really hasn't found his niche yet with this team. It's a whole different experience for him.
His unselfishness is the death of him here. He needs to be selfish and need to take the team over.
Right, where his strength was always, even when he was in Dallas with Dirk. I mean, he's played with good players before. He was able to penetrate and kick out, draw defenders, and find the open man. Now, all the attention is to everybody else. He sort of needs to find a way to be a complimentary guy. He's always been most effective with the ball in his hands. And now you've got 4 guys who can all make major things happen with the ball in their hands. Kobe Bryant, obviously, and Pau Gasol's a great passer. And Dwight Howard, of course, you're going to kick it in the post with him, and he'll get a lot of touches, and they'll run the offense through him. So Nash, like I said, finding his niche, and, of course, pulling something last night, it didn't help at all.
Not at all. And to me, there's a couple of things that are funny. Dwight Howard shot, I forget the first night, it was like 3 of 14, I think it was. Something like that. And then last night, he got 15 for 19. Yeah. Just the most inconsistent free throw shooter in the world. So a lot of people blame his free throw shooting in Game 1. Game 2, that wasn't the issue. But what was the issue is 24 turnovers. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of turnovers and a lot of fouls. They had 29 fouls. So they're just playing sloppy. That tells me they're just not in the right spot. They're just not a cohesive unit yet. And
can I say something about the Lakers?
No.
Especially on the offensive end. Metta World Peace is terrible.
Terrible.
He is an absolute detriment to their offense. He needs to be a guy like Shane Battier who will just sit in the corner and do absolutely nothing. Sure, last night he wasn't that bad. If you look at his stats for Game 1, terrible. He was like 1 for 8, 1 for 9 or something like that. And he turns the ball over as well.
A lot.
He's not a guy who he didn't do much, but at least he didn't hurt them.
6 fouls, 6 turnovers.
There you go. He's hurting their offense. He needs to be a guy who stands in the corner and pops out every now and then to make a tricky little play. With him having the ball in his hands makes absolutely no sense in their offense. He's just a ball stopper at that point. You need to get it to one of the guys who can truly create and really help their offense get in the right direction. Metta World Peace is hurting them on the offensive end, I think.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And listen, defense is not going to be a problem for them.
They'll get
better. They
don't
need to have a top-flight defensive guy who, honestly, I don't even think Metta World Peace really is anymore. I think they'd be better off getting in a guy who's still solid on the defensive end. It can hit the 3. That's all you need. Metta World Peace, I really don't think he's the guy for the Lakers right now. I
have to agree with you. He's just he's a character. They signed the contract long term there with him. He left Houston and all that good stuff. And they bought what they paid for. That's basically it. But we've got about 5 minutes left. Any other topics you want to tackle before we wrap it up and have more beers on our lives?
Well, I do want to express my positive feeling for the Dallas Mavericks. I felt that a lot of people really slept on them in the preseason. As you know from our discussion that we had in our Beers and Rankings podcast, I was very high on them. You weren't really. I really liked that they came in and made some noise in the first game with no Dirk Nowitzki, no Chris Kaman. I told you, this is a team that's deep. Jan Mahinmi, he can. Well, he's not on the team anymore.
I know you didn't answer the email chain that we had to get our post out about 6 questions of the night, and I asked everybody, do you think the Dallas Mavericks have one of the deepest teams in the league? I was the only one that said yes. Because looking at it, I'm like, wow. When Dirk comes back, they have a Vince Carter off the bench. They got Roddy Bobois off the bench. Eddie Curry's going to go back to the bench. Great depth right there.
They've always had that depth. They had it that championship, like I was about to say. Jan Mahinmi, they don't have him anymore. They brought in Darren Collison for that, who all had a great game.
Yeah.
But Mahinmi's role has been replaced by Elton Brand, who has been unheralded when he was with the Sixers, but was playing, a hostile style of game. And Sean Marion, the Matrix, can still make a lot of noise there on the offensive and the defensive end. I really like the players on the team. I think once they get Kaman and Dirk back, they're going to make a lot of noise in the West.
As they should. There's no reason that they can't. So after seeing those couple of games, I've kind of penciled them in to make the playoffs. I think that even without Dirk for half a season or however long he's going to be out, I still think it gives them a chance to, get that last playoff spot at least. Another team I want to talk about was the Utah Jazz. Had a fantastic game by that. I don't know if you had a chance to check out the Utah Jazz. I tweeted out earlier.
Oh, yeah. I had a tweet that had a little comment about them. I said that their depth is underrated.
Yeah, I mean...
They played a lot of bench players for a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
and obviously, Millsap and Jefferson are going to get a lot of minutes and play a ton of or get a ton of points and rebounds and big numbers, whatever. But you look at some of the guys who came in off the bench. You had Jamal Tinsley playing many minutes. You had Enes Kanter coming in and playing a bunch of minutes. You had a lot of unheralded guys who came in and made noise in that game, and they're not going to be shy about playing 10 guys a solid amount of minutes. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'm just more impressed with the strength that they have, the big guys they have. Jefferson and Millsap have like a personal competition going on. They both grab 15 and 14 rebounds respectively.
Yeah, and then you look at Favors and Kanter coming off the bench. Those other two big guys, they had 10 and 7 rebounds as well, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to rebound really well as a team. 61 rebounds last night.
Yeah.
They're not going to let many balls go away.
20 offensively.
20 offensively. So their inside-out game is pretty good right now with, Gordon Hayward likes to shoot a lot, Marvin Williams and Mo Williams like to shoot.
I'd love to have Alden Amar back on the show and have him talk about the Jazz
next week.
Some of the things they're doing. Because if you can get 20 points out of Mo Williams and 20 points out of Marvin Williams,
you're doing something right.
Yeah, and to have Gordon Hayward, put up some solid numbers shooting from the outside. With those big guys, they can win games. If those perimeter players can at least hold their weight, the big guys are going to win the game for you.
I mean, you couldn't have said it better. And then,
hey!
And even Randy Foye had a fantastic game. So Utah Jazz and the Mavericks are thinking to be my 7 and 8 seeds. And sorry, Houston, you don't make the playoffs. As much as we love the Beard.
Yeah, I mean, those three teams are all going to win a solid amount of games. They'll probably win. They'll be over 500, I'll say that. But as we've seen in the past, not every team that's over 500 is going to make the playoffs in the West.
It's unfortunate. It's the life they chose when friends become foes. And the dough will get you killed quicker than you know.
Whoa, I don't know where that's all coming from, but I like it.
Oh, that's Nas.
Oh, excuse me.
I think it's off Illmatic, if I remember correctly. But I got nothing else. You got anything else?
I think we're good, Jacob.
All right, I think we should hit this intro and see you later, bozos.
You just listened to NBA Unplugged, brought to you by theprobasketballtalk.com.